What's up, everybody? Good to see you. This is Bob and my wife, Des, my most beautiful wife, a blessing from heaven. She has helped me so much. We met each other in high school, and ever since then, we've been in love, and we've been working to just get better and better, get closer to God, and just step into who we're called to be. You know, my calling being in IT, hers being in so many other areas, including finance. And we'll talk a little bit about how our work-life balance has kind of led us down a path where we've been able to pay off a lot of debt. And I know this is part of an IT Sys Admin Camp, but I think it's really important to understand that, you know, good to see you, Mystic Thoughts, to understand that it's not always just about the technology. It's also about making sure your house is in order and your life is in order. So hopefully y'all are looking forward to that. For those of you out there right now, just let me know. Can you hear everything okay? Can you hear the music? Can you see everything? Does everything look clear? You notice the green screen's not back here right now, where my wife's helping me revamp my lab area here to make it look a little bit better and be a little bit more clean and tasteful. So we're thinking about doing some green paper wallpaper back here. That'll be a lot better looking than the drape hanging. So yeah, good to see you, Mystic. Glad you're here. We're going to go ahead and get going, and we're going to talk about work-life balance. So I think I reached a point, babe, last semester where you had to kind of level with me and say, look, you know, you're working a lot. We don't get to see you a lot. And, you know, it's like your son sees you as a stranger almost, right?
Yeah.
And when you told me that, it kind of hit me. And I was like, yes, technology's cool and teaching others is cool, but you know, the family's the first ministry. And you reminded me of that. So like, what could you talk us through that? Like how did that come to be where you just felt like leveling with me like that? And what would you say to others out there who may not even be seeing that they're doing that?
I guess when I first noticed it, maybe it was like I asked you to watch our son, and he was kind of like hesitant about me leaving. Started crying and getting really upset. Like he just didn't know who Bob was. So I kind of got on him to spend more time with them and hang out with them. And it really helped, honestly, that there was a stay-at-home order with his job. So he kind of had to, you know, be home with us and get to learn our everyday routines.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like having that time to actually be at home, and it was like being forced at home, made me realize like what I wasn't paying as much attention to. And it wasn't like neglect, like I wasn't like not coming home, people, but it was like I was spending so much time at work and teaching that, and putting my heart into that I could honestly say I wasn't putting as much effort into home, right? Like I was paying the bills, I was making sure things were getting, you know, paid for and taken care of in that front, but that's not enough, right? So I know for those of you out there that are trying to get into IT or are trying to get into higher levels of IT, realize that like with more money is going to come more responsibility, right? Like to whom much is given, much is, you know, required. So when you notice this and you really are striving and you get that, you know, performance, you know, high octane athlete mindset towards this, you know, you got to realize that there's other people, especially if you got a family, especially if you got people you need to take care of. Make sure you kind of realize that. So, you know, what else you thinking? Is there anything else you had that, you know, people might want to hear regarding, you know, just focusing on family just as much as they focus on their work? Because that definitely resonated with me, and it forced me to come to a realization that, you know, my work will suffer as well as, you know, the home if I'm not focusing on home first, you know. So is there anything you can think of, you know, just off the top of your head?
Yeah, so when it comes to work, I feel like you kind of have to draw a line because it can go from, you know, being very passionate to being really just hyper focused on it in a way that's not really beneficial to yourself or anyone else around you. When it comes to family, I think with jobs, like if something were to happen to you, they would post your job on LinkedIn or they'd post your job on Mitchell, and then, you know, someone else would be in that position. But like if we lost you as a dad or if we lost you as a husband, you know, it's a lot more to recoup from. So I feel like it's really important that you spend that time with your family.
Yeah.
I mean, work is going to be there. Work is always going to be there, but, you know, family is not forever.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. And that, I mean, it's like, even for you streamers, I know you all know that streaming it's a busy thing, right? I mean, in this one, we're doing it up late. Some of you stream for many, many hours. And, you know, just if you're single, you don't have to worry about other, you know, tasks or family, you know, great, do that. But what I'm saying is if you have others around you that you have to care for and that you should be caring for more, you know, realize that stream sometimes you can say no to that and focus on what really matters and prioritize what really matters. Because, you know, honestly, I started to notice as I got closer as a father to Victory, who's that's the name of my son, and our son, Victory. Destiny's my wife, of course. You know, for those of you just coming in, I see a few more dropping in the stream. We're just talking about work-life balance and how, you know, Sys Admin, IT stuff, cybersecurity, hacking, whatever you're getting into, that's great. The skills are needed, the focus, the practice, but also to focus on you. And part of you is your family. And I'm not just talking about, you know, maybe your wife or husband or boyfriend or girlfriend, but your family, like maybe your mom and dad, if they're still with us, grandparents, sow into them too. Because, you know, you can be refreshed by your family, right? And some of you I definitely see out here as family. You know, you continue to return to the stream, you're in the Discord, and you're chatting and you're involved and you're trying to help others. Hey, what's up? How are you doing, DSQST? I never figured out how to pronounce that username. Good to see you. It has been a long time. Oh man, it has to be half a year since I've seen you hop in here. We're talking about work-life balance. So for those of you also, if you're just, you know, in your chat there, let me know if you have any tips, and let others know what are your tips on work-life balance. It's not worth losing family over work, no matter how cool, you know, the job is, no matter how much of an opportunity it may seem like. You know, it's not worth it. So to lose family and to not step into that family role. So I encourage y'all. If you're single, though, you know, don't feel bad about being single. You know, just grind, work on your the thing that you feel on your heart. Just step into that thing. Yeah.
Work on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say to that? To those out there that are not married. And by the way, I love being married, people. I mean, my wife is wonderful in every way, and she's a blessing to me. I love being married. But what would you say to people that are not yet married or not yet or not in a relationship at all? What type of advice would you give them?
Some advice I would give them. Geez.
Yeah.
You pushed the microphone up on me.
Yes, I did.
Some advice I would give single people is, like, really enjoy this time because, you know, once you get married, you're like having to check in all the time, and maybe that's something that you're not completely used to.
Yeah.
Like I remember like at a time being single, and like you can just kind of go wherever you want and do whatever you want to do, but once you're married, you kind of got to update someone and let them know what you're doing and how long you're doing it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for the single people, I would say, just really work on yourself. Like find yourself out. Like what hobbies do you have? What crafts do you have? Like,
yeah.
What can you continue to pursue in this time?
Right. Cultivate that and try to be the best at it, right? Like, I'm not saying you step on people's backs, but focus and just say, look, I want to be the best at this. Try not to just spend most of your time scrolling social media. If you find yourself on social media a lot, post on social media. Be a creator. Add to it. We need more tech creators that can teach technology. So I know many of you who have been in these chats have taught me a lot. So, feel free to teach. And you don't always have to put your face and voice in it either. You can write and add in that arena. So I'm glad to be here tonight with y'all. I'm glad to be talking about this. I know some of y'all came thinking we were going to do more with Windows, and we will get to that later. But for now, I think this is some more fulfilling topics for now. And I could introduce y'all to another family member of ours, because our other son is asleep right now, our human son. This is our dog son, our fur baby. His name is Oreo, and he looks like an old man. He doesn't. He looks like, we were talking about that today. Oreo is a Shih Tzu, which is little lion. They were actually bred in China, right?
Yeah.
To be looking like the Chinese lion. You see them in the fairs and the festivals. He's been with us for a while. He's been with us as long as we've been together.
Yeah.
Right?
He's 11.
He's 11. Yeah. Man, it's been a decade.
I know.
That's awesome. We're going strong. So there is another topic I would like to bring up that I'm looking forward to hearing what y'all have to say about this. But it definitely puts stress on you no matter what you're doing, whether you're in IT or you're in any field, any trade that requires a lot of your time and efforts and focus, and that is finances. Right now, I'm not going to share any accounts or anything for those ethical hackers out there, so I'm not looking to do that. But I am looking to talk a little bit about something that my wife has also led us significantly in that area of our life into victory, I'll say, is debt and managing debt and paying off debt. And she is pretty much self-directed on all her learning around personal finance. So, in this past year, babe, we have gone through so much.
Yeah.
I will say to y'all, like, at one point in time, we had like $100 a month to spend. Like, and that was it. We had to, I'm going to joke, this is not a joke, but this is something we look back at and laugh at. One time we were strapped, right? And I'm just saying this to say that you can revamp your every area of your life with the right amount of focus. But at one point in time, we pulled up to McDonald's. Do you remember this? We pulled up to McDonald's and we're like, we're looking at the dollar menu and we're like, we got to pull off. We can't afford this right now. So it was funny. Like, obviously we're not poor, like living on the streets. We have a home. We had enough money to like get by.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like we couldn't really grow. And, it was in an area where I was like really pouring into my work. So I wasn't thinking about that even. Like I wasn't even thinking about the finances element of my work and what I'm making and all that. And at the time, my wife's staying at home to take care of my son. So we're strapped and we're trying to make sure that we have, everything we just need. Not much of what we wanted, right? Yeah. And, in that time frame, it was almost like, my wife, Des here, she just, her passion for finances just blossomed and she put us on this right track. So would you be willing to share a little bit about that? Maybe even throw some numbers out there that you helped us achieve of paying off debt?
Okay, sure.
So I'm going to move a little bit closer. Just so it picks you up.
It's going to pick up Oreo, too.
It will.
What you got to say, Oh?
Oreo, tell them. Tell them about those biscuits and treats.
Yeah. So essentially what happened was we had a lifestyle creep. Me and Bob were working like full time, and we were just like, you know what, let's just start throwing things on credit cards. So we're throwing things on credit cards like crazy, and like we had maybe 10 accounts open or something, like laptops and jewelry and cars and all this other type of stuff. And I ended up leaving my job to help take care of our kid, be a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. And once we did that, we just noticed how many minimum payments we had coming out of a check every single month, and how we pretty much had robbed ourselves of any future gains because we had a minimum payment to pay with interest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like Bob said, we pulled up to a McDonald's, and I think that was like our final, like, we're done. We're tired of living check to check. We're tired of, struggling every single month. Like, let's actually do something about it. So, we managed to pay off $25,000 in debt this last year.
Yes.
On a check that's not very big, but
no.
We made it big. We made it work. So
yeah, so we're still working. We're still working towards that too. So it's like, I remember sitting down and Destiny really like leveled with me. She was like, "Look, this is what we got to do." And I'm like, no. In my mind, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to restructure. But it honestly was a point of stress in our life that was adding. It was affecting my performance. It was affecting our, relationship. It was affecting our mindset about the future, to be so strapped and to be looking at this mountain of debt. And I gotta say, if you've got some, I can't recommend enough just trying to get rid of it. But it does require sacrifice. Like anything, like any skill you're going to develop, it's going to require sacrifice from you to achieve that goal. So we're still working on paying it off, but we're getting there. And we want to put more into other areas so it grows. I'm not going to give any investment advice on the stream. But I will say that you'll have, if you've got bills and you've got debt that you're like putting in the back of your mind and in the back of your priorities, try to bring those to the front and get rid of them, because you have so much more to work with. Like now that we've got a little bit more, we can put on things we want. I bought an iPad. I know for some of y'all, you're like, what? Why would you buy an iPad? I bought some accessories for it. I've got some more tech projects I'm able to invest in and work on. Some video content creation courses that I'm taking myself to make better videos, whether it's YouTube or, live streaming on Twitch. So, you start to see more possibilities, right? Money's not everything. It doesn't buy happiness, but it sure can pay for the search, right? And we're not big money-driven people. We're purpose and mission-driven, but money's a resource that needs to be obtained, just like water and food. So, that's a good one. Does anybody got anything out there? If you don't feel pressured to add to it. Feel free to just listen and enjoy what we're talking about today. So, I'm glad y'all are here. We'll get to the tech here in a little bit. You got anything? Nothing else? Alrighty. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you. Love you. All right, y'all. We're gonna get to the tech here in a bit. These beats, by the way, these are on a new app I found. So everybody said bye. They said bye. And we got one sharing and they also said bye to you too, Oreo. So DSQST says 3 years ago I was homeless without a dime. Luckily I finally was able to land a long shot dream in IT. That is awesome. And you're talented. You are talented. There's some things there's some issues you've helped me solve on stream live, okay, people? So, yeah, IT's a great thing, and that's the dream, right? The dream is to help people break out. It's not just to make more money. The dream is to help people get out of a frame of mind that's like, they feel less than, or they feel like they're stuck, right? And I just find that, when you're able to teach something to people, it's so empowering for both. Oh gosh, yeah. The debt was and is, we still have some, but it's not as bad, right? Like we're almost completely out of our consumer debt. We're getting there. We're almost there. And it's going to be fantastic. We're going to celebrate when we're out of that. But it was really a mindset shift for us to realize that this debt has to be gone. It was almost like we just saw it as, sorry, let me remove that chroma key. It's going to mess up the, it was almost like we thought it's like we thought we would never pay it off, so let's just pay the bare minimum. You know what I mean? That was just the wrong mindset to have. So we're working on it. We're going to come out of it. And we're going to have a lot more to do with what we want to. Because when you think about the way that your life goes, like you might actually not be able to try to go for certain opportunities and study for certain opportunities because you have obligations to pay these bills down. So that means that you can't train and you can't afford the training, or you can't do it because it does cost money, right? To get into some fields, you do have to invest in it, right? So if you're interested in it, you're going to at some point come across something that you need to invest money in, I'm not saying you have to go broke to get in, you don't have to spend $10,000 a year to find out who you are. That's what I tell high schoolers when they're looking at going to university. I'm like, you may want to just think about that a couple of times because, if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what you want to do, you may not need to spend $10,000 a year right away on that, okay? So maybe community college, or maybe, I don't know, Twitch, right? Like now we've got so many great streamers that are on Twitch teaching. They're great teachers, RWX Rob's great. And there's so many others I can't even think of right now. BeginBot, you just scroll down the science and technology, discover somebody and say, look, this person is, great. They're teaching this and that. And they're giving you direction. One of the best things you can get is direction if you know what to aim at. We didn't quite get into relationship too much, but that'll be something we do on a Just Chatting. We'll talk about relationships. Me and my wife, we went through the ringer, but it was self-imposed. We didn't have goals before we were married, and it didn't work too well. But once we had goals, and we attribute a lot of that to our faith in God. But if you don't, at very minimum, you got to have a goal for a relationship. But yeah, so that's been good. I'm glad y'all are here. I'm glad we're talking about these things. I love the tech, but I also love the other stuff, the stuff that just, that you think about, but you don't really talk about a whole lot. So yeah, feel free to share in here as much as you feel comfortable sharing. You can share. I'm not gonna judge. No judgment here. And if anybody judges in here, we'll kick them out. Right? So this is Twitch. I had to tell you guys about this because I discovered this, because you got to be careful using some of these playlists, even if they're identified as DMCA free. Sometimes stuff gets bought, stuff gets bought up, or things get copyrighted after the fact. So Twitch's response to this whole DMCA thing is they've created an app, their own kind of like Spotify, called Soundtrack. So this is all DMCA streaming friendly. So none of this should get tagged with one of those strikes per se. Because the cool thing is YouTube even added this, but when you do get a DMCA strike, it will mute your audio for that portion. It doesn't mute the whole thing. But so that's something I got to tell y'all. If you're a streamer, spread the word on that too. If you know some streamers that use different types of music, and whatnot, I think they should know about this. And lo-fi is my thing. These beats, this is not like cheapo quality stuff. This is some good stuff, I'm telling you. So, yeah. Welcome everybody. We got some people coming in. So if you don't know who I am Bob, otherwise known as LTN Bob. LTN stands for Love Thy Neighbor, and that's what I try to live my life based on, is loving thy neighbor. That is in the Bible. I do believe in that. I try not to force my beliefs on people. If they ask, I'll share. But I don't want to live just for me. I want to live for helping others and for empowering others, because it empowers me too. So if you've ever tried teaching, you've probably either been frustrated or you really loved it. And I've been both. So, I just love teaching. I teach as a job, and I also teach as a hobby. Like right now, this is teaching, right? And this is sharing. And I don't think I'm above anybody, okay? So if you're listening to me right now, just know that you know some things that I do not know. Yeah, so and you can teach me just as much as I can teach you. So if you see me doing something on stream when we get to the tech, then and you say, "Wow, why don't you try this?" Then I'm very open to that. Okay, so feel free to give me feedback. Feel free to do everything that you need to do to teach me and others. If you see someone else in the stream or in the Discord, and if you want to jump in the Discord, feel free to do that. There's people always asking for help, direction on tech stuff and training. Share, right? And if you don't mind, and it'll help. So these backgrounds, by the way, too, these are Visual Dawn. He is a great artist from the UK, and he gives away a lot of his art, his animated backgrounds here, and they're really just they're not. I mean, I don't want to make them sound like they're easy to make, because he's doing these in rendering software and animation creation software like Blender, and there's another one, Cinema 4D. He just does the coolest stuff. And I like running his backgrounds, especially when I have a green screen. I'll play around on the background. So he gives on his site, if you go to visualdawn.com, he gives away some of the backgrounds and the videos, and you can download those as long as you give credit. So they're free under the Creative Commons license. It's clearly listed on the site. He also has some courses on Skillshare that you can buy. So that's a cool thing. All right, so you know what? I think we should get into the tech, okay? This is mainly what y'all came for, but I hope I gave you a little bit more. I'm big on giving you more than you asked for. So, of course, here's the site again for Visual Dawn. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to continue from where we left off with Sys Admin Camp. And we're going to go to my hypervisor on the network, which is 10.388.5. And it's going to take me to a VMware ESXi hypervisor, where I should have a Windows Server 2019 install. And you can see all those usernames I've typed into VMware here. So the VMs the VMs I'm going to spin up are a Windows Server 2019 install with Active Directory and a domain controller. And I'm also going to spin up a Windows 10 VM, which is our client, because our scenario is we are building a network for a fictional school called the Twitch Institute of Technology, right? And Jim Flimflam's one of the first employees. I think he's the chancellor. And we're going to get going on setting up some of the services that are on this network. So if you haven't seen any of the other sessions, because this is session 4, right? So we did 1, 2, and 3. And 1 and 2, 2 is in several parts. I think it's 3 parts that are, they were breaking up because I had some technical glitches on my network, like where the connection dropped and the stream restarted. So I brought those together in episodes where if you want to see how we got to this point, I showed from the beginning installs all the way up to, the setup of Active Directory and the creation of users. Now what we're doing is we are going to build on top of that. So anything on top of Active Directory. So file sharing, connecting to Azure. We definitely want to get to, we want to start getting to the cloud at some point where Azure becomes a focal point, right? So we're going to get this up and going. This is loading. See if we get it going. Is the sound okay? Because I did add for this soundtrack, for the Twitch soundtrack source, I added a new source in Streamlabs OBS, and I just want to make sure it's not double the audio. And my mic isn't too loud now, right? Because I'm a little bit closer. Test. That should be good right there. Hello. Yeah, we should be good. All right, so we're gonna log into the server. See if we can get logged in. You know me, I've got all these passwords on my mind. There we go. I'm in first try, people. I did it. I got a quick question for you. What do y'all prefer? The green screen or no green screen? Let me know in the chat. Because I never asked that. I just think the green screen looks cool. I think it just, I don't know, it adds a certain flair. It's like I'm in the computer. But, I'm not married to it. And I don't think it really plays a big deal in people watching or not. But it could. It definitely matters. Production quality matters. And when you see the green screen flickering in the background, that could be a little distracting. Some people they don't want to watch after they see that, okay? So I'm getting Windows Server up and going. I need updates installed. That is one thing I skipped over that I would not skip over in a real deployment in the industry. If I was installing this for a business, I would not leave updates just sitting there. But since we're doing these streams and we're doing examples and demonstrations, I will do this. I'm okay with just leaving the updates. I don't plan on keeping this server too much longer, maybe through this series and then deleting it, not using it until the next thing I do. But I did want to eventually, towards the end here, sync to the cloud, okay? So here we are. We have our Active Directory. Remember that Active Directory is also the primary DNS server on your network. So any of your clients, should be getting a DNS address. That the preferred address is going to be the domain controller, so that they can, have hit the logon servers. And then if they need to get to the internet, those DNS requests will be, forwarded by the domain controllers. All right, so what's next? Now, this day, I did want to talk about a very important topic in IT in general and in system administration. This doesn't just apply to file shares or printers and things of the like, but also to networks. And these things are access control lists, right? So an access control list is a list of permissions. And really, it's a list of permit and deny statements. So allowing or denying a certain connection in. So that topic, you should understand at a fundamental level that an ACL is allowing or denying. If you've ever been to a nightclub or an exclusive style event thing where they had security that checked a list, I think of an ACL as a bouncer. They're looking at their list and they're saying, "Hey, are you allowed? Yes, you're allowed. If you're not allowed, deny." Most ACLs, they have a implicit deny, which means if it's not in the list, deny. So you think about the list that somebody's checking. If they're not on the list, deny. So that's implied. That's where the term implicit comes from. The implicit deny. So think about that. That's big in networking. Firewall configurations use the same logic. You don't necessarily need to configure the command line, wildcard masks, manual statements now. A lot of these firewalls have the drop-down list where you can permit or deny. They make it real easy. But I need you to know that an ACL is an access control list, and it's a list that has permit and deny statements. And I'll show you what this looks like in file sharing, right? So on a Windows server, in a Windows environment, if you have databases, if you have applications you're hosting, if you have files that you need to share in directories that people need to use within the network to store data and share data and collaborate. And by the way, this style is kind of going away, but there's still a lot of big companies that are doing this, and they're having file sharers and they're having shortcuts to it called map drives, where the employees save all their data on this share on a server, right? So I'm going to show you how to do this. I got some funky music. So this one's a little distracting. It sounds good, but it's distracting. I need that one because that one was the last one was bumping, but for some reason it was just distracting with all the people talking. So where were we? File shares. Let me show you some best practices. Typically, you are going to have a separate hard drive on your server. At least ideally, you're going to have a separate hard drive or a separate network of NASs for your file shares. What's a NAS? I'm not talking about Nasty Nas, the rapper. I'm talking about a NAS as in network attached storage. So that is normally where in a big environment a share will be. But there's also situations where the share is stored on a server operating system. And even with the smaller and medium-sized companies that are getting administered, they have shares on their domain controller, right? Or on, they have servers that are doing a lot of stuff at the same time, okay? Hello. Okay, I was just making sure I wasn't too loud because it looked like my audio levels are in the red. Either way, let's keep it going here. So normally you'll have a separate hard drive connected, which would show up here, right? Because we know that Windows identifies drives using a drive letter, right? So the main drive is C drive. So I'm gonna go to Server Manager. Okay, good. I just want to make sure it's just right. I don't want anybody to leave because it doesn't sound good or it's too loud. So we're going to computer management, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create what's called a partition. And I think I have enough space that I've allocated to this VM to create a partition. Oh, it's not computer management. It's where is that? I forgot where that is in server. Yeah, disk management. Yeah. You're right. So disk management. So normally, you can go to, in Windows 10, you go to computer management and it pulls up, disk management. I'll just click on that. Windows cannot find it. So where did they move it to in Windows Server? Let's try this. That's definitely not it. I'm like, here, look, I'm showing you how to do something, but I don't know where it is. Print management. There's got to be disk management exists in Windows Server, I promise you. Where'd it go? Because computer management, when you click computer management, the reason nothing opens. Oh, there we go. I thought I did that already. Look, so computer management, you saw me click. Y'all saw me click, okay? I knew it was in computer management. I knew there was something going on there. I was like, hold up, is my brain farted. And I was like, it stinks. So here we go. We're going to disk management, and we're going to create a partition to mimic having a separate hard drive. But normally what you would do is you'd go in here and you'd have a hard drive connected that would let you, format that partition. And just for the record, and maybe we should do a whole entire operating systems camp, but for now, just know that what you see above right there, that a partition is a logical segmentation of a hard drive. So it's a place on that hard drive that's been allocated for that volume. A volume is a space on a hard drive that has been formatted with a file system, so it can be used to store and manage files. So what we're going to do is we're going to shrink this volume, since we've already got, we may not need any, like all 39 gigs of that for that. So we're going to, let's shrink it by, I don't know, 5 gigs. That's all I need right now. So give it some time. So we're going to shrink it. And look at how Windows measures storage space. They do it in megabytes. But you're like, wait, hold on. When I buy a hard drive, it's doing it in gigabytes. So why is it megs? And how do I know how many gigs are in a meg? So, and how do I know how many megabytes make up a gigabyte? Well, 1024 megabytes make up 1 gigabyte. So, you could say roughly, if we're making 5,000, I'm just going to, we'll do 6,000 megs. Give us, 6 gigs, a little less than 6 gigs, 5. So it's shrinking the volume. Uh-oh, not enough space. Maybe we need to create. If I only have 39, how much is actually being taken up? Maybe I added an additional 0 that didn't need to be added. Let's see if that lets us shrink. Give it some time. Seems like it's working for us. If we get another error, we'll just move on. I'll show you how to create the files. But normally you'll have more than 39 gigs. I'm just saving space on this one hard drive I have in this this server. So let's try even less. I want to try one more time because I do want to create that partition. It's just like you know, in real life, you know, I want to kind of make it a similar. I guess we would add another hard drive if it was real life here. I was gonna say, I mean, this is stretching then. Oh, there we go. So at least it gave us 2 gigs. So sorry about that wait. We've created a partition. It is unallocated, which means it does not have a file system. It doesn't have a volume really, right? You can't really call it a volume because it doesn't have a file system. Okay, change my mind. Okay, and then we're gonna go here in new simple volume. Next, you're just gonna use the exact amount of space. We'll give it drive letter E, right? That'll be our data shared drive. Go next. And I'm just gonna call this institutional. I don't know. No. You know, important data or critical data, business critical data. You know, data shares. How about that? You know, typically if I'm setting this up for a company, I'll call it company data. But you know, I'm neither here nor there in terms of you know, the name. Doesn't really matter a whole lot, to be honest, but it should, in my opinion, it should be logical, right? So the perform a quick format, you don't normally want to do that, and I'm going to say that a lot on stream because I'm picking the faster route on stream. Normally you want to let that go do its thing, okay? You want to let it format it properly, thoroughly and properly. So let's just do a quick format, finish, and it's formatting. It's formatted it quick. Boom, we're done. So we're going to File Explorer, and I'll show you what does this look like. How do I use this? Because for some people, this is like, what is all this? I don't like all this. I'm going home, and then you realize you're already at home, and you sit down and you just keep watching. But then we go to the File Explorer, and we see data shares, and it's like nothing's in there. We've created a separate partition. Or it is a partition. It's not. I don't know why I did that, but we're pretending it's a separate hard drive, and that's when I can do my quotes. But this is supposed to be a separate hard drive or what have you, but it's just a separate partition. So here we go. I'm gonna create a folder. In this folder, I'm gonna call it TWIOT. Twitch, which is the Twitch Institute of Technology. That's the name of our fictional school that we're setting all this up for. And we're going to create we're going to share this folder, but it's going to have subfolders within it, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Active Directory, and for those of you that weren't here last session, and I'm not mad at you, you know, this is your time. And you can always go back and watch the recordings if you want to, is I'm looking at my departmental OUs to determine which departments I have. Because to be honest with y'all, before I just got on here today, I forgot which of the departments these were called, okay? So we got accounting, developers, management, and see how I'm doing the little snap in the side there? It just makes things a little bit easier. Right, so I've got this on the side. So I'm going to create a folder for each of the departments because the people in those departments need to access those folders. So I'm going to click folder. This one will be accounting. And I'll just copy, paste 3 times, and just rename. Actually, one more time. Call that developers. Faculty. and management, or sometimes known as administration, right? So we've got the folders now. And now folders are not OUs. Folders you store data in. You can store different types of files, Excel documents, Word documents, you name it, database files. But you can't store those in an OU. An OU is not a folder. So even though they use a folder icon, please know that that is not what it is. It is an OU, which is on the right side here, is a container for Active Directory objects, whereas a folder is a container for, files and all types of different objects to be stored and accessed. So difference there. So don't treat an OU like a folder. So okay, so what are we going to do next? Now, I'm going to make sure in each of these OUs I have made a group, which I don't think I've done yet, which is good, because then I can show you how to create groups. So I've got the users and groups. In accounting, I'm going to create a group. So I'll call the group accounting, right? Because when you create a group, you're really creating a group to be a collection of users, right? That's what a group is. That's like by definition, a security group is a collection of users. It's easier to manage access to shared resources when you use groups, because you don't have to add each individual user to every single file and printer and thing that they need to access. You just add them to the group. And if they leave or they get fired or they're no longer with the organization, you can just disable their account, and that disables them from all the other things. And if they need to be granted access at a higher level, you just add them to the group, or that whatever group has access to that resource. This is how you track, and this is how you control access to resources in a Windows environment that runs Active Directory at the source of truth, or as the source of truth. I have a contact in the industry. He uses the term source of truth, and I really like that. He says many companies still use Active Directory as their source of truth. So everything is essentially built around Active Directory. Okay, so we're going to go to developers. I can't stop saying that. Sorry if you're annoyed with me. So then we go here and go to group. And this is going to be developers. Faculty. We're going to create it here. We're going to do faculty, right? And then, management. Oh, so this was the one I did create stuff for. So we started in management when we did Active Directory, and we built out these OUs in session 3. We did all that. Jim Flim Flam, he logged into his laptop, which was the Windows 10 system, and everything got logged in. Now here's the thing though. We're gonna set up shares for each, but we're gonna test management, right? And we're gonna make sure management can only get into management. And if they try to access any other, they get denied. And we'll do that by testing it on Jim Flim Flam's laptop. Okay? So we're going into Twitch, Institute of Technology. Right now, so as of right now, no user on the network will be able to access that folder, okay? The Twitch Institute of Technology, or the share. Because the thing we need to do right now is we need to share that folder on the network so that people can access it, right? So that people can use it as a working directory to work from within. Shared folders exist in Linux too, right? And this whole thing I'm about to get into with permissions, and I bet you your understanding of sharing that probably is going to come easily, but your understanding of permissions applies to every area of IT. It applies to, anything that has a user account as authentication. Anywhere there's authentication and authorization in accounting, you need to consider permissions. So what we're going to do is we're going to share this top level folder. So I go to right click the folder, I go to properties, and I go to sharing. And then notice how it's not shared. There's no network path. So I'm going to share it. Check share. And then the first thing I want you to notice is look at how many simultaneous users are there by default, right? That's a lot. You could limit this if you wanted. I don't typically limit this, but from a security perspective, it might be a good idea. But you also got to consider, how many, what is considered a connection, or what is, is it counting a user, or is it counting every single connection the user has? How many users will need to access this share? So if you are limiting the number of users that are simultaneously connected to the share, you also need to think about, keeping up with that number, right? So, I wonder in the chat, somebody, if you have some good rationale behind the limiting of the number of simultaneous users, let me know what your strategy and your rationale is. Or let us know in the Discord later or the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. Because I don't typically mess with that because, those numbers change frequently and it's going to be challenging to keep up with that number unless you've got a system in place to do that. So, but I'll show you one thing we definitely do. We go to permissions. Look at the default group. I want you to look at is everyone. This includes anybody who has a Windows computer, whether it's on the domain or not, you're gonna be able to at least get in there and read it. Because notice how the permission that's allowed by default is to read. So we're gonna remove everyone, and we're gonna just add at this level we're gonna add the groups. Right, so I'm gonna add, and you can always add domain admins. You need to add domain admins. You really don't need to, but you can. If you're a domain admin, you can always go back in and add yourself, right? Just so you know. So don't ever freak out if you lock yourself out of a share and you're a domain admin. You can always go back in and add yourself. But in this case, we're gonna add all those departments. So we're gonna add accounting. I'm gonna check that. We're going to add management. I'm trying to remember them. And yes, you can add multiple at the same time by doing this. And I know you could probably automate this through PowerShell and stuff too. And we should do some PowerShell where we add users and manage users and permissions through PowerShell too. We'll do developers. Check. What was the other one? Accounting, management, developers, faculty. Check. Enter. And now permissions. This is going to be specific to your organization and really whoever's defining, the security there, like the CIO or the CISO or the team of CISOs or CISOs. Yes, that is the term they use. Chief Information Security Officers. They will pick permissions, right? They'll say, okay, this is, this group has this level of permission. This group has this level. I'm going to give of the share. This is just the share. I'm going to give change to each. But I'm going to give management full control. So we're going to apply, okay, apply, okay. But wait, there's more. This is where it can get a little hairy if you've never done this before. The other thing I have to add is I have to add Ntfs permissions. So the file system in Windows, in any new Windows operating system by default, is Ntfs. So this file share right here, really all it is it is an access point over the network into a folder that's on another computer. So my server is the computer that's going to host that file on its file system. The share lets the user in or denies the user from getting on that computer's file system. Once they get in through the share permission, so they've got share permissions, and this is cybersecurity knowledge, SMB, right? So as soon as I shared this, Windows started using SMB, which is server message block, to share the folder, okay? So now, I'm opening this up for convenience and for productivity. I'm also opening this up to be hacked. So I got to be aware of this. I got to monitor this, and I got to know this is where my data is going to be. So it's important, right? So then what's next? Again, I need to lock this down at the file system level. So I haven't done that yet. I've only created a share. I've only created an access point. So then I'm going to security, and I'm going to add this. This is where it gets a little bit more complicated. Share permissions are easy to understand. NTFS, or they don't even call it NTFS here. They don't let you know they really don't let you know you're configuring NTFS permissions. They just say this is the security tab, right? So this is where NTFS permissions are applied. And they both use the same logic in terms of ACLs, permit or deny. And they give you, look at the more granular permissions you have here. You see where my mouse is? You got full control, modify, read, execute, list folder contents, read, write. So if you just want somebody to be able to read what's in that folder, then that's all you'll give them. But if you want them to do more, then that's what we'll do, right? So, but first what we need to do is we need to change this. Here's a foreshadow, right? You see these check marks, there's already permissions, right? These permissions, they're inherited. So they're coming down from the folder above it. What we're going to do, because we want to be our own folder, we want to be independent, INDEPENT. You know what that means? We want to be independent of any inherited permissions from the top. We want to make sure we define our own permissions. So we're going to go to advanced, and we're going to disable inheritance, right? So I'm going to go boom, remove all inherited permissions. Leave administrators though, because we're administrators. So if we removed ourselves, we would have to add ourselves back, right? So I'm going to go add, and I'm going to select principal, which is that, the group, right? So, and it's my understanding that you have to do this one at a time. I haven't done this in PowerShell before. It would be great to do that. So I'm going to do accounting. Boom. We're leaving this. We're doing read execute, because if there's a program we're hosting, they could launch it. If there's files they need to change, they couldn't do that because I don't have write. So let's give them write as well for their folder. Well, actually, they don't need write at this level. They don't need write. So they don't need write at this level because it's at the top level. Now, all they'll need write at is in their own folder. Okay? So I'm going to create that. I got read, okay, apply. But you want to add all of them because this is still the top level folder that we're doing NTFS permissions on. So I'm going to do management, check, okay. Let's give them right, but not full control. Actually, management, they deserve full control. Management, we give them a little bit more. They're a little bit more tech savvy. What's up, Leo? Good to see you. So add, we're doing, so we did accounting, management, faculty, right? Faculty get right. Okay. We're missing one. Developers. Developers. All right, so add. So we got them, check, give them right to. Boom, hit okay. Okay. And now we're done at the top level, okay? So keep in mind this is shared. This is this folder is shared. So anybody that can get into this folder can actually see all of these folders, okay? They can see all of the folders. They shouldn't be able to get into all of them though. But as it stands right now, these are all inheriting permissions from this folder. Because by default, NTFS folders created on an NTFS file system, they do this inheritance thing, okay? So they're We have to turn inheritance off on all these folders. I'm going to show you this on one, and then I'll maybe do another, but you get the gist of it as I do it. And let me know if you have any questions about this. But know that when we share a folder, that's what I was going to say. When we share a folder, we don't need to share all these other folders. That's redundant. So I've seen a mistake being made, and it's a security issue, where they share this folder and then they share all these folders. That you don't need to do that. If this is shared and they're allowed to get in here, they're already on the computer. Remember, a shared folder is an access point onto that computer's file system. So once they're in here, they can see all this. So all you have to do, look, we've just eliminated a step. All they have to do is go in here and they just have to create. I'm going to do it on all of them. All they have to do is go in here and do security because it's already shared. And look, by default, look what got inherited. And I want to show you something cool. You might not have known this, but if you're a Windows admin, Windows Sys Admin, you know this. When it comes to permissions, if it's inherited, it's a light gray check, right? If it's the original permission, like the OG permission, look, it's bold. Solid black, bold, right? So look at the difference. So how do I know it's inherited? Gray. How do I know it's the OG? I'll just click in the white space too to see that folder I'm in. Look, that's a OG. It's telling people what to do, right? So, all right, we're going to accounting, boom, advanced, get rid of the inheritance. So I'll leave administrators, go to select, and we'll add, let's see here, accounting, right? Accounting. Let me move that so I'm not blocking it. That's the one bad thing about the green screen. Or the good thing about the green screen is you don't have to worry about your little picture-in-picture blocking what you're doing. So hit OK, and then write. They should have write in their own folder. I would even argue some might want to give full control, but that means people can delete stuff. So that's a culture thing. Do you trust? So really, the manager of accounting will make that decision, even though IT will do it. You shouldn't let accounting do the IT file creation and permission configuration, but you should let them make some decisions on this stuff. So if you say, hey, would you, maybe IT talks with, the CIO or the management or you're a Sys admin, you talk to the accounting manager about, hey, do you, what do you want them to do in this folder? You want them to just create stuff? Should they be able to delete? Should they just read and execute? What do you want them to do? So that's what I would recommend. So hit OK, apply. Boom, we've applied that. Accounting's done. So we're going to go to developers now. And just this helps me practice. This is repetition. They say repetition is the father of learning, especially if you haven't done it in a while. I teach this stuff, so I do have a lot of these steps memorized. But if I wasn't doing this every day, I wouldn't memorize this. I would Google this. There are some processes I memorize. Just admittedly, there are some processes I've memorized, some I do not. Of course, it's better to have processes memorized, but it's just not realistic to expect yourself to have everything memorized. So, do faculty. Apply. And then we're going to do management. Management's going to do whatever they want. So they're going to have full control. Full control, except they are not allowed to access other shares, okay? So management should not, other folders. So management should not be able to get into any of these, right? Without the proper process being followed or the proper permissions or whatever. They should not have unlimited power. Keep in mind, as an IT professional, if you have domain admin rights, you essentially have unlimited power on the network, because you can access more than even a doctor could if you're working at a hospital. You can access more than the CEO of the company, okay? Be careful with that power. Remember what Uncle Ben said. He says in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. That's what he told Peter Parker. So keep that in mind. If you're a domain admin, they trust you. If you didn't give yourself that permission, you're a trusted person. You're a trusted resource. So don't abuse trust, people. And I know I'm not here to preach, but I will say that every now and then, have some integrity. Don't ever use other accounts, someone else's account. So I've seen a case where, I don't know, HR is moving slow, and I've heard about IT people using other IT people's user accounts. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't use other people's user accounts. Why? Because you're going to get in trouble and they're going to get in trouble. Okay? And they were being nice. They were like, here, look, you can't work. You can't do your job. So here, look, I'm going to help you do your job. I help putting my neck out. But that's not smart to do that. You may be tempted in some situations to do that because of the way maybe a process is moving. Don't. That's where I would subscribe to being a process-oriented person and say, I'm going to just let the process play out, because I don't want this to get anybody in trouble. Right. Okay. So where are we at? Management. So now we've created the file shares. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to get on Jim Flimflam's laptop, and I am going to log in as Jim Flimflam and access management over the network. Right. So let's look. Jim Flimflam, first of all, I want to make sure he's in the right group. So I'm going to go to member of, and sure enough, I did add him to management. Okay, he's a domain user like any other domain account that's created on a domain, and he's in management. So that's what I was looking for. And I'm going to log in as him. So what I forgot is his password. So I'm going to create him a new password, okay? Okay. I'm glad that's okay with you. So I'm going to do I have these lab passwords in my head that I don't use anywhere else except in the lab. Because I'm thinking this. If I'm on stream, if this is a recorded video and something accidentally is shown, at least it's a password that's just in a controlled lab, fun environment that doesn't have any risk behind it. So if you ever see any of my passwords, they're only going to work in my lab. So, which eventually I will be buying next month, payday. I'm going to buy more RAM for my server, and I am going to be picking a select few in the chat to remotely connect to VMs on the network, and we're going to do activities together on my network, if that sounds cool. So let me know what you think about that in the comments or in the chat. If you want to be a part of that, let me know on Discord. Shoot me a DM, and we'll plan something. Okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to log in as Jim Flimflam. So, I just got to remember this path for the share. You got to remember paths, because this is what you're going to type in. And I'll show you how to automate all that when we get into group policy and system administration and automating system administration in a Windows network. I'm going to show you some group policy stuff. Okay? So this right here, will I remember it? I don't know. So what I'm going to do on my end is just have it in a note somewhere. Just to make sure. That backslash, that's just syntax in Windows and with SMB to access the share. So I'll have this on another screen. And then I'm going to go over to the Windows 10 VM, and we're going to log in. So here we go. We're in Windows 10. I think it's J Flim Flam, right? Yeah, I'm going to need to check that. There we go. I'm logging in as Jim Flim Flam. He's logging into his laptop for the first time. Typically, you'd have group policy set up, but I want to show you step by step what group policy is doing. So you can see how it is automating some of these things. Because like what I'm showing you how to do is access a file share. But what you could actually do is have a group policy set up to where as soon as Jim logs into his laptop, a group policy applies to his account that sets everything up, all the preferences, where he's going to connect, maybe even his desktop background, control what he can open. Like you can using group policy, you can prevent people from opening control panel and doing anything in Windows that they shouldn't be doing. You can implement a control through group policy, right? So I'm going to go in here. Let's maximize this because that blue is beautiful. That Windows 10 blue background, I do like it. It's got every blue. It's got the light blue. It's got the dark blue. It's got the blue in between. I don't know all the different colors, but it's nice. Okay, so we're gonna access the share, and I'm gonna show you how you can access an SMB share in Windows just using basic syntax. So you can do \\b1. So the syntax, let me just show you that first. The syntax of a Windows share is, and this is UNC path. So the Unified Naming Convention path is \\. The difference between a / and a \\. So /\. Remember that, /\. Backslash is going down a hill. / is going up a hill. All right, down a hill is \\. I know that's maybe confusing, but to me that's what helped. So b1-server01, that's the host name. So after the first two backslashes, you're typing in the host name of the destination you're trying to connect to. And then after that, you're typing in the share name, right? And I'm just putting in generic. I'm putting in what the syntax is. Now we're actually going to put in the host name. So we'll do b1-server-01, and then we'll do the name of the share. So I'm going to go into the top level share, right, and hit enter. So the fact that I was able to get into the share tells me my permissions are right and that Jim Flimflam's in the right group. But now what I need to do is I need to check my permissions at the security level or the NTFS level. And I'm going to do that by clicking on each folder, right? So as I told you earlier, if I click on accounting, I should get denied, shouldn't I? And if I click on developers and faculty, I should get denied. If I don't, something's wrong because Jim Flimflam, yes, he's the chancellor of Twitch Institute of Technology, but he shouldn't have unlimited power on the network, right? So he should only be able to get into management, and he should be able to create stuff in management. So we're going to test that too. So I'm going to go up to accounting, and the desired result here, if the permissions are set right, is I get a denial message. So here I go, trying to get into accounting. Boom, Windows cannot access. Look at the error message. You do not have permission to access this server in this location. Contact your network administrator to request access, right? In other words, also your system administrator. So you say, boom, 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 whoever that is, or however you request access, send the email off. So if Jim Flimflam really needed to get into accounting for some reason and couldn't just reach out to the accounting department head or the, chief financial officer, then we would have to go through a process. But I think when it comes to giving further access than somebody needs, should be a request process. Like there should be a form that gets filled out. There should be steps they have to follow other than just, okay, sure, here you go. Or a phone call like, hey, I need a domain admin, okay? I have a quick story. I was working for a company, and I had just started there. I was there, I don't think, a month. And I got a call from somebody who worked for the company, and I guess they did a little bit of IT, but I didn't know this, and we didn't have this documented. So they called and they asked me, can I have domain admin rights? What's the domain admin password? And first of all, I'm thinking, who is this? And how do they know what a domain admin is? And then I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to give you a password. So I said, unfortunately, I can't give you that. That's really important information. Can I speak to your manager? They didn't like that very much. So they talked to their boss, who called and talked to my boss, and we talked about it. I said, look, there needs to be a process in place. I don't know who that is, and there's nothing in our systems that indicate who this is. So I'm not going to give away a domain admin credential. So they were fine with that. They were like, thank you for, being careful, But, the client didn't like that because I didn't know that they should know. It was just a mess. It shouldn't have been that way. So anytime you run into like those little hiccups in the industry, you gotta talk about it. And, stand your ground. Don't just give away domain admin rights to anybody. I'll risk getting in trouble for saying no over. Imagine the opposite. If I was just like, yeah, here, have a domain admin account. Cool. I don't want to get in trouble. Then I could be even in worse trouble, right? So I weighed the risk there. I was like, no, right? So try developers. Nope. Faculty? Nope. Fantastic. Should I be able to get into management? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. The answer is yes in my book. So yes, because I've created the permissions. Boom, I'm in. Nothing's in there though. But how about this? What good is a file share if I can't add anything to it? So another test is, can I create a folder or a file or whatever? Let's try. Yes. Cool. So I got my permissions right. All right. So I'm being dramatic so you know that the permissions are right. So I'm going to say critical, top secret recipe. This would be a database or an Excel file or whatever. So what is it, 2 slices of sourdough. One slice of bread. Oh, no, cheese. American cheese. 3 fry that thing. Devour with no remorse. Okay, so that's top secret. I saved it. Boom, bam, bada bing, bada boom. All right, so we got our shared environment. We created a shared folder with the top secret recipe on it. And here we go. Right, so we, Jim Flim Flam, that's the first file he created on the network, was just about a grilled cheese sandwich, but that's okay. So let's open it back up, recent file. That's opened on the network. So if he saves that right now, then if he saves that, it's not saved to his local computer, which is good because then IT can back that up. They can back that thing up. Mustard, I never tried that. Hold up, Major Tech, bro, what's up? But you got to stop coming for my sourdough taste. My sourdough, I love sourdough. Okay? Right. It's secret. He is terribly mistaken. It's all about the sourdough. I like white bread too, but sourdough. Sorry. Toast it. You got to toast that thing. Well, you're not toasting it if you're making a grilled cheese. Don't ever tell somebody, get that out of here. If somebody's saying put your bread in the toaster before you make a grilled cheese, that's not a grilled cheese. That's not a grilled cheese. You have to grill that thing. Fry it. I don't know. It's delicious. But okay, we've made our file share. We've done our permissions. We've got a pretty decent environment coming along. This is on-prem stuff. So on premises, this is how a share would be set up. Is on a basic level. It gets a little bit more in depth as you go. But of course, the same process would go if we wanted to create more users and groups, and they would test access. I think I'm gonna stop it there tonight. I think that's enough. That's really enough for tonight in what we're covering for Sys Admin Camp. In the next session, which will be on Friday, I canceled this last Friday. I had to get some sleep, but I'm well rested and I'm good. But next week on Friday, I am going to add more automation. So what we're going to do is next Friday, we're going to use this setup. We are going to set up users using PowerShell. We're going to have some scripts going. It's going to be fun. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set up some group policies. So I'm going to show you how you can automate this task of accessing the share. Because you can't expect poor Jim Flimflam to come on his PC and to just do this, right? To if he needs access to that folder, he's not gonna go IT on you. He's not gonna do that. All right. He needs a map drive. He needs something to connect him automatically. He needs a shortcut on his desktop. So we're going to start automating, making things a little bit easier in the environment. We're starting to create a live environment that's going to be real useful for us to do even more lessons on. I'll say looking even further after we do our automation with group policy and PowerShell, and I show you some of that, we're going to get into connecting this environment to the cloud, Azure, and then we're gonna move into cloud camp, I guess you could say, Sys Admin Camp or Sys Cloud Admin Camp. I think system administration is still a good thing to call it because the cloud is a system. So I hope you all have enjoyed it. So if you've enjoyed the stream, let me know. If you've enjoyed this recording, give me a comment below. I want to thank everybody for coming every week as you've been here faithfully, and you keep coming back and you keep watching these videos. I hope they help you and provide value. I'm going to keep trying to get this better. I definitely appreciate all of you. Shout out to those of you, and I have analytics that tell me where these connections are coming from. So shout out to people in the United States. Shout out to people in Canada. Shout out to people in India, Singapore, other places you just never knew that people were going to watch from. So I definitely appreciate all of you. Shout out to the global audience. We don't have thousands, but that doesn't matter. We need some quality folks in here that want to learn. So I'm Bob. Thank you. And I will see you next time, everybody. Have fun. I'm getting ready to Argentina. Shout out to Argentina, too.